They looked the same, but their hearts were worlds apart. One sister believed power could win anything. The other believed kindness could heal everything. When a single school test forced them to choose between pride and compassion, the black sister broke the rules to help her rival, the white sister who never thanked her. But the world has a strange way of rewarding honesty. The test she failed and still won. Because sometimes losing on paper means winning your soul. The first bell of May rattled through the corridors, mixing the smell of pencil shavings and coffee into the air. Lyra liked mornings like this, structured, predictable, calm. The rays that slipped between the blinds turned her desk into gold stripes. She lined her pens with precision, exhaled, and listened to the soft hum of students settling in. Across the same row sat Amara, identical in bone structure but opposite in everything else. Where Lyra's eyes carried patience, Amara's sparkled with hunger. She had to be the best. Anything less felt like invisibility. "Finals tomorrow," Mr. Calhoun announced, tapping the whiteboard. "One exam decides scholarship nominations. Study wisely." A buzz of nerves rippled through the class. Lyra noticed Amara's jaw tighten. Ambition pulsed from her like static electricity. At lunch, they walked together past a flagpole. Same backpack color, different weight in their steps. "You don't look worried," Amara said, half accusing. "I studied," Lyra replied, smiling gently. "Studied is enough. You have to dominate." "That's a strange word for learning," Lyra teased. Amara rolled her eyes. "You'll see. People remember the one at the top, not the one who's kind." Lyra stopped under a maple tree, the light flickering between them. Maybe being remembered isn't the same as being respected. That line hung in the air, heavy as humidity before rain. At home, their shared bedroom mirrored their souls. Amara's desk overflowed, scribbled flashcards, energy drink cans, open tabs of exam notes. Lyra's side was neat. One notebook, a cup of chamomile, and silence. Midnight ticked loud. Amara rubbed her temples. "I can't focus," she whispered. "Everything's blurring." Lyra looked up. "Take a break." "I can't. If I mess this up, that scholarship's gone. You'll make yourself sick." When Amara's pencil slipped from her trembling hand, Lyra stood, brewed tea, and placed it beside her. "Drink this." Amara didn't even look. "You always act like some saint." "I just care." "Then care enough to help me." Lyra hesitated. "Help you how?" "Give me your answer sheet tomorrow. Just for one section. No one will know." Silence. Only the ceiling fan turned, slicing the guilt between them. "You're serious?" Lyra asked. "I need this, Lyra." Lyra's heart thudded. The request scraped against every rule she lived by. But behind Amara's defiance hid panic. "I'll think about it," she murmured. That night, she couldn't sleep. The moon carved twin shadows across the room, one restless, one still. When morning arrived, Lyra's chest fell hollow. At the bus stop, Amara waited. No eye contact. Guilt hidden behind lipstick. Lyra finally whispered, "If I help, promise you'll tell the truth after." Amara nodded quickly, too quickly. In class, test papers slid across desks. Pencils clicked. The world shrank to ink and silence. Lyra's eyes drifted to Amara's trembling hands. Compassion overruled fear. Slowly, subtly, she tilted her sheet just enough for her twin to see. Amara copied, eyes wide with relief. For one moment, sisterhood felt heavier than consequence. But guilt seeps fast. Every question Lyra answered for both of them carved another line on her conscience. When the bell rang, Amara smiled for the first time in weeks. Lyra couldn't. She stared at her paper, knowing she had failed something larger than a test. That night, Amara slept soundly. Lyra lay awake, replaying each answer she gave away. The mirror on the wall caught her reflection twice. One face of silence, one of satisfaction. She whispered to herself, "Maybe losing right is better than winning wrong." Outside, the moon hid behind clouds, as if ashamed to watch. The storm outside hadn't stopped since morning. Each drop against the windows felt like the echo of something unspoken. Lyra, the black sister, moved quietly down the corridor. Her calm eyes told no stories, but her heart was full of unsent letters. Things she never said, feelings she never named. She stopped at her locker. A folded paper peeked from the edge like it wanted to be found. She hesitated before pulling it out. The handwriting, sharp and trembling, belonged to Amara, her white sister, the one whose name once meant competition. Meet me in the art room after class. Please, I need to tell you something. The word please felt heavier than ink. Lyra took a deep breath and slipped the paper into her pocket. Around her, laughter and footsteps echoed. Everyone else had moved on, but not her, not Amara. The classroom smelled faintly of chalk and rain. Lyra sat at her desk, the test paper in front of her, like a mirror. Today was her re-exam, the one she had to retake after the cheating scandal. As she wrote, the pen moved not with fear, but with purpose. Each answer felt like redemption, not for approval, but for herself. Students whispered behind her, "Isn't that the girl who got caught? Didn't she help Amara? She's too nice for her own good." But Lyra kept writing. Her calmness wasn't weakness anymore. It was power disguised as peace. When the bell rang, she stood up, turned in her paper, and met the teacher's eyes. "I'm not trying to win anymore," she said quietly. "Just trying to be honest." The teacher nodded. "That's how you truly win, Lyra." After school, the rain softened to mist. The art room was silent, except for the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Lyra entered. Amara was already there, sitting by the window, her reflection fractured by raindrops. "You came," Amara whispered. "I said I would," Lyra replied. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Amara turned, her face pale, eyes swollen. "They know everything. I told them the truth." Lyra froze. "You told them?" Amara nodded. "I couldn't live with it anymore. I cheated. You took the blame. Everyone called you weak, but you were the only one strong enough to protect someone who didn't deserve it." Lyra didn't respond. She looked out the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. "Sometimes we protect people not because they deserve it," she said softly, "but because we refuse to become what hurt us." Amara's voice cracked. "You should hate me." "I don't," Lyra said. "Hate is too easy. Forgiveness is harder and stronger." Silence filled the room, thick but gentle. It wasn't peace yet, but it was the beginning of it. Suddenly, the door opened. Their teacher stepped in, holding 2 envelopes. "Girls," she said, "the scholarship results are out." Both froze. The teacher smiled faintly. "Lyra, congratulations. You're one of the finalists." The board was impressed by her honesty. Amara looked down, tears pooling. Lyra reached for the envelope, hands trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. Amara tried to smile, but it broke halfway. "Looks like life finally graded the right person." Lyra gently placed a hand on her sister's shoulder. "No, it graded both of us. You own the truth, that's courage too." Outside, the last rain cloud split and sunlight poured in. The sisters stood there, side by side, one dark, one light, shadows overlapping into something whole. Their rivalry was fading into something else, recognition. For the first time, Amara didn't see Lyra as competition. She saw her as reflection, the half she had forgotten to value. And for Lyra, forgiveness wasn't surrender. It was freedom. After the storm, the city smelled new, like the world had been washed clean. The next morning, Lyra walked into school carrying a canvas under her arm. The art fair was that day, something she had almost skipped. Amara caught up beside her. "You're still entering?" Lyra smiled gently. "Why not? I'm done hiding." Amara exhaled. "Then I'll help you. You deserve to be seen." Together, they entered the auditorium. Dozens of students were hanging paintings and sculptures, laughter and chatter filling the air. When Lyra unveiled her work, a hush fell. It was a portrait, 2 girls sitting side by side, one black, one white, one with sunlight on her face, the other shadowed, but both reaching for the same light. Below it, the title read, "The test we both failed and won." The crowd murmured. Some smiled, others stared silently. But the teacher stood back, tears in her eyes. "This," she said softly, is more than art. It's healing. Amara stared at the painting, her lips trembling. That's us, she whispered. But you made me look kind. You are kind, Lyra replied. You just forgot for a while. Amara's eyes filled again, but this time with warmth. You should win for this. Lyra shook her head. We already did. Hours later, the results were announced. Lyra's painting won first prize. The applause was thunderous, but she didn't look at the crowd. She looked at Amara. They smiled at each other, quiet understanding passing like light between mirrors. And when reporters asked what inspired the painting, Lyra said, "It's not about who failed or who succeeded. It's about remembering that empathy can be louder than ego." That night, the sisters walked home together under fading sunset. The sky burned orange and purple, the same colors that mixed on Lyra's canvas. Amara finally said, "You know, I used to hate how perfect you were." Lyra laughed softly. "And I used to wish I could be confident like you." Amara smiled. "Guess we were both wrong." "Maybe we were both right," Lyra said. "Maybe we just needed each other to see it." They stopped at the corner where their paths split. Amara's house left, Lyra's right. For the first time, Amara didn't want to walk away. "Lyra," she said, "thank you for everything." Lyra looked at her with the same calm eyes that had carried her through storms. "Just promise me one thing," she said. "Anything." "When life tests you again," Lyra said softly, "don't cheat yourself of the chance to be honest." Amara nodded, voice trembling. "I won't." They hugged, tight, trembling, real, the kind of embrace that rewrites endings. As Lyra walked home, she looked at the fading clouds above. Somewhere deep inside, she realized she hadn't just passed a test. She had transformed it. Because sometimes failure is just life asking if you're ready to be real. And she finally was. The morning light was pale and quiet, the kind of light that doesn't speak, just listens. Lyra stood before her mirror, brushing her hair slowly, her reflection looking back at her like an old friend who'd learned too much. On the dresser lay the scholarship letter, still unopened. She had carried it home the night before, but couldn't bring herself to break the seal. It wasn't fear of the result. It was fear of what it meant. Behind her, the door creaked. Amara stepped inside, hesitant as if entering sacred ground. "You haven't opened it yet?" she asked softly. Lyra met her gaze in the mirror. "Not yet." "Why?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Because I already won." Amara frowned. "You don't even know what it says." "I don't need to," Lyra replied, turning to face her. "Winning stopped being about papers or prizes. It's about peace." Amara looked down, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of the dresser. "You always talk like that, like you're older than time." Lyra chuckled. "Maybe I just learned faster." There was silence for a moment. Then Amara sighed, her reflection flickering beside Lyra's. "I keep thinking about the painting," she whispered. "You made me look better than I deserved." Lyra shook her head. "No, I made you look honest. That's what you are now." Amara's lips trembled. "Do you really forgive me? I mean, fully?" Lyra looked at her reflection again. Two faces side by side, one dark, one light, each with their own pain, their own peace. "Yes," she said finally, "because forgiveness isn't about you. It's about freeing myself from the past." A knock interrupted the silence. Their mother's voice called from downstairs. "Girls, breakfast. You'll be late." Amara turned to go, but Lyra caught her hand. "Wait," she said. She picked up the envelope and pressed it into Amara's hand. "You open it." Amara's eyes widened. "Me? Why?" "Because this was never just my story. You were part of it too." Amara hesitated, then tore the seal open. The paper inside crackled softly. Her eyes scanned the words and widened. "You got it," she breathed. "Full scholarship. Everything covered." Lyra smiled gently. Then maybe the universe was listening. Amara felt her chest tighten, tears threatening to spill. "You deserve this, Lyra. You earned it the hard way." Lyra took the letter and placed it back on the dresser. "So, did you, in your own way, You learned what truth costs. That's something most people never do. They stood together in silence. The mirror before them reflected not rivals, not opposites, but two versions of growth. The world outside shimmered with soft gold, and for the first time, both sisters saw themselves clearly, not as the kind one or the cruel one, just as two souls, finally at peace with their own reflections. Weeks passed. Autumn came quietly, painting the campus in burnt oranges and fading reds. Lyra sat in a small coffee shop near her new college, sketching in her notebook. Her scholarship had brought her here, far from home but closer to purpose. The bell over the door chimed softly. Amara walked in, scanning the room until her eyes met Lyra's. "You still draw during lunch?" Amara teased, sliding into the seat across from her. Lyra smiled. "You still show up late?" Amara grinned and handed her a coffee. Old habits die hard. They both laughed, an easy sound that once would have been impossible. Amara looked around. "You've made this place yours already." "It's peaceful," Lyra said. "People here don't know my story. They just see me." Amara nodded. "That's good. You deserve a clean page." Lyra glanced at her sketchbook. Inside was a half-drawn portrait. A new one. Two girls again. But this time, their colors blended where they met. Amara leaned forward, smiling. "That's us, isn't it?" Lyra nodded. "It's what we become." For a moment, Amara was quiet, watching her sister's steady hands. "You know, I've been thinking," she said finally. "Maybe I'll apply next semester. I want to study psychology, to understand why we do what we do." Lyra looked up, impressed. "That sounds like you're chasing truth. Or try and make peace with it," Amara said with a laugh. Lyra smiled softly. "That's how it starts." The sunlight shifted through the window, landing on their table, warm, golden, forgiving. They sipped coffee and shared quiet stories. Fears, hopes, things they never said when pride was louder. At one point, Amara reached into her bag and pulled out a folded photo. It was a picture of Lyra's painting. "The test we both failed and won. I keep it with me," she said, "whenever I start doubting myself." Lyra looked at it for a long moment. "That painting isn't about the past," she said. "It's a reminder that we're both capable of light, even when it comes from darkness." Amara nodded, eyes misty. "You always say things like that, like they belong in a book." "Maybe one day they will," Lyra said quietly. "Maybe our story will help someone else forgive themselves too." Outside, the leaves began to fall faster, twirling in the soft wind. Amara stood and slipped on her jacket. "Promise me something," she said. Lyra looked up. "What?" "When you become something great, an artist, a storyteller, don't forget this version of us." Lyra smiled, standing to hug her. "I couldn't. This version is where we began." They held each other tightly. No rivalry, no resentment, just quiet gratitude that they'd survived the test, the guilt, the storm. As Amara left, Lyra sat back down, watching the wind dance through the golden trees. She turned to the last page of her sketchbook and began to write under her drawing. Sometimes the mirror doesn't show who you are, it shows who you're becoming. She smiled, feeling peace spread through her like sunlight. For once, the test wasn't about passing or failing. It was about becoming whole. The auditorium shimmered with anticipation, every seat filled with parents, teachers, and students. The air smelled of polished wood, fresh flowers, and a faint hint of excitement, the kind that makes hearts pound faster than logic. On stage, Lyra, the black sister, felt a quiet stillness inside her chest. She held the scholarship certificate tightly, but it wasn't the paper that made her chest swell. It was the weight of everything it represented. Honesty, compassion, resilience. The announcer cleared their throat. "And the winner of the National Young Scholars Award is Lyra Johnson." Applause thundered like waves crashing on a shore. Lyra stepped forward, each step measured, her dark skin glowing in the golden spotlight. She could hear whispers from the crowd. "The girl who helped her rivals still wins?" She didn't flinch. That story, the one that could have humiliated her, was now her crown. From the front row, Amara, the white sister, clutched the program with shaky hands. Pride and relief warred in her chest. She remembered the night Lyra had risked everything, the storm of guilt, the long silence between them. Now, all of it had led here, a moment of pure recognition. Lyra lifted her hand to the audience, offering thanks, but her eyes were fixed on her sister. "You've always been there," she whispered silently, "even when I carried the weight alone." As she descended the stage, the crowd's applause still ringing in her ears, Amara ran up and embraced her. It was not just a hug. It was a culmination of every trial, every tear, every act of courage. "You deserve this," Amara said, voice cracking. "Not just for the award, but for being who you are." Lyra smiled softly. "We both did," she replied. "You just had to learn the cost of truth." The sisters walked together backstage, hands brushing, a silent understanding passing between them. The applause outside wasn't for grades or prizes or recognition. It was for integrity, the kind that changes lives quietly but deeply. After the ceremony, reporters and cameras swarmed, asking the usual questions. "How did you feel? What inspired you? What's next?" Lyra answered simply, her voice calm and confident. "It's not about winning. It's about understanding that honesty and kindness matter more than any test or title. Sometimes life rewards you not because you're perfect, but because you're brave enough to be truthful." Amara stood behind her, nodding. She remembered every late night, every moment of doubt, every unfair whisper. But now, she saw the payoff, the life lesson lived fully in real time. The sisters walked outside into a campus courtyard bathed in late afternoon light. Lyra held the certificate, but now it felt light, almost fragile. What was heavy had already been lifted. The burden of compromise, of hiding, of fear. They paused near a fountain, the water glittering like 1,000 tiny diamonds. "Do you realize," Amara asked softly, "that everything we went through made us stronger?" Lyra nodded, eyes reflecting the rippling water. "Yes, and wiser, and closer, and ready for whatever comes next." Amara smiled. "Then let's face it together." They linked arms, stepping forward, not as sisters in competition, but as partners in life. Two halves of a whole story finally written in truth. Weeks later, the campus settled into autumn rhythms. The wind carried the smell of fallen leaves and distant coffee shops. Lyra and Amara walked together toward the art building, talking softly. "You know," Amara began, "I almost didn't make it through that test. I mean, I wasn't ready to face the consequences." Lyra smiled, brushing a curl from her face. "You learn what honesty costs. That counts for more than 100 tests." Amara laughed softly. "And look at you now. Full scholarship, recognition. Everyone calls you amazing." "It's not about them," Lyra said. "It's about being honest with yourself, even when it hurts. That's the real reward." They paused under a large oak tree, its branches spilling golden light over the path. Amara looked at her sister with admiration and quiet gratitude. "You taught me something I'll never forget." "What's that?" Lyra asked, curiosity gentle in her tone. "That kindness isn't weakness. Honesty isn't a gamble. And sometimes losing the battle wins you the war." Lyra laughed softly. "Exactly." They continued walking, the certificate safely tucked away, the weight of past guilt replaced by shared pride. Around them, life went on, students talking, bicycles rattling, leaves rustling. But for the sisters, nothing would ever be the same. They had faced fear, betrayal, shame, and mistakes. And through it all, they had chosen a path less convenient, but infinitely stronger, the path of truth and compassion. That evening, as sunlight gave way to twilight, Lyra and Amara sat on a bench overlooking the campus lake. The water reflected their faces, not as rivals or opposites, but as equals, two hearts in sync. Amara whispered, "Promise me something." "Anything," Lyra replied. "Promise we'll never forget this lesson or each other." Lyra smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "I promise. We survived the test. Now, let's live the life that follows it." The sisters sat quietly, side by side, as the sun dipped below the horizon. For the first time, victory wasn't about recognition, money, or awards. It was about being true to oneself and to those you love. In that golden moment, the world didn't feel like a test anymore. It felt like a canvas, blank, beautiful, and waiting for them to paint it with courage, kindness, and love.